He once ruled Hollywood with a fearless, eccentric charm that seemed untouchable. You remember him as the swashbuckling Jack Sparrow, the edgy, otherworldly Edward Scissorhands, the enigmatic anti-hero that no one else could play. For decades, he had a career that seemed untouchable, a life that seemed larger than the tabloids themselves. Then everything shifted. A combination of high-profile legal battles, personal scandals, and public scrutiny made headlines, shaking not just his career, but the perception of him entirely. But what most people don't realize is that this story isn't about a star fading away, it's about a carefully orchestrated comeback, one that's more subtle and deliberate than most realize. The question now isn't just if Johnny Depp can return, it's whether he can redefine his own legacy on his own terms. For years, Depp's image dominated pop culture. Every role he chose was a statement, from quirky, offbeat performances to dark, intense characters. He became a symbol of creative risk-taking, someone who didn't just act, he transformed. But when personal disputes spilled into the public domain, everything changed. The defamation trial with Amber Heard became one of the most scrutinized legal battles in recent history. The media frenzy painted a complex, often contradictory picture of the actor, highlighting controversies that overshadowed his professional achievements. Suddenly, the roles that once came easily were harder to secure. Studios hesitated. Major franchises paused discussions. Even loyal fans found themselves questioning what they thought they knew about him. At first glance, it looked like the end of an era, but beneath the surface, Depp was quietly plotting the next chapter. Instead of responding with public outbursts or dramatic moves, Depp opted for discretion. He avoided blockbuster hype and focused on smaller, more intimate projects that allowed him to demonstrate his craft without the overwhelming glare of mass media. Independent films and international projects became his canvas, and he embraced opportunities that challenged him rather than guaranteed commercial success. One notable example was his involvement in a biographical film about the Italian painter Amedeo Modigliani. In this project, he not only acted but also immersed himself in the creative process behind the camera, showing a side of his artistry that the mainstream rarely witnessed. Meanwhile, the press took note of his appearances at European film festivals, where his performances were met with critical acclaim and lengthy standing ovations. This period of quieter, deliberate work allowed him to recalibrate public perception and reconnect with audiences who valued his talent more than the tabloid stories that had previously dominated coverage. Then came the subtle but significant hint of a return to the mainstream. News broke that Depp would star in a major studio project, a modern adaptation of a classic story, Ebenezer, A Christmas Carol, directed by T. West. This wasn't a casual cameo or an experimental side project. It was a calculated re-entry into Hollywood's big-budget sphere. The choice of material, a story about transformation, redemption, and self-reflection, felt almost symbolic, mirroring Depp's own journey. At the same time, he was linked to other significant projects that signaled a gradual re-establishment of his presence in the commercial film world, including a psychological thriller with Penelope Cruz. These moves weren't about regaining lost fame overnight. They were about strategically positioning himself for a comeback that emphasized depth and control rather than simply recapturing past glory. Of course, no conversation about Depp's career is complete without mentioning the role that made him a global icon, Captain Jack Sparrow. Rumors swirled for years about a potential sixth Pirates of the Caribbean installment, with producer Jerry Bruckheimer openly stating that Depp could return if he liked the script. Fans erupted at the possibility. Social media buzzed with speculation about the storyline, the return of beloved characters, and whether Depp would reprise the role with the same flair that made it legendary. Yet even in these rumors, Depp maintained caution. He publicly suggested that he would only return if the project felt right creatively. This approach exemplifies his current strategy. He's not chasing money or nostalgia. He's carefully curating his choices, asserting control over the narrative in a way he couldn't during the height of his controversies. Parallel to his career maneuvers, Depp's personal image has been evolving as well. Photographs from recent public appearances reveal a more subdued, introspective presence. His grayer hair and refined style convey maturity and transformation, emphasizing a persona that is less about shock value and more about substance. His selective engagement with media reflects a conscious effort to shape how audiences perceive him, pivoting from being a constant tabloid fixture to a figure who generates intrigue through calculated appearances and thoughtful project choices. Even relationship rumors, such as his rumored connection to a younger model, have been reported in ways that keep public interest high without dominating the narrative. He is mastering the art of intrigue, letting curiosity drive engagement rather than relying on sensational headlines. The comeback narrative isn't solely about career moves or personal style, it's about control and reinvention. Depp has shifted the conversation from what went wrong to what's next. This transformation isn't only strategic, it's psychological. By taking the time to rebuild his brand away from the constant glare of mainstream media, he's allowing audiences to reset their perceptions. Instead of rushing back to blockbuster projects, he's creating anticipation, letting the narrative develop in stages that maximize impact. Fans and critics alike are now paying attention to his choices, wondering which direction he will take and how his next performances will reshape his legacy. The suspense itself becomes a form of engagement, keeping viewers invested even when he's not constantly in the public eye. Despite this careful approach, the shadow of past controversies still lingers. The legal battles, the public disputes, and the media scrutiny remain part of his story, coloring public perception in ways he cannot entirely control. Some fans question whether he deserves a second chance, while others celebrate his resilience and artistry. This tension is crucial. It ensures that every move he makes carries weight. Every announcement becomes newsworthy, and every project is scrutinized with a level of interest that would be difficult to manufacture artificially. It's a dynamic that reinforces his current strategy, a comeback that's not about erasing the past but integrating it, acknowledging the complexity of his story while demonstrating growth and evolution. In this context, Depp's choice of projects feels almost symbolic. Taking on Ebenezer, A Christmas Carol, for example, isn't just a career move, it's a narrative about transformation and redemption. Playing Scrooge, a character who must confront his past mistakes and reshape his future, mirrors Depp's own journey in the public eye. Similarly, his work on art house films and international projects signals a commitment to creative exploration rather than merely capitalizing on his name. Each decision reinforces the story of an artist reclaiming agency, choosing roles that align with his vision rather than public expectations. It's a layered comeback, one that engages audiences on multiple levels: emotional, intellectual, and nostalgic. The anticipation surrounding his potential return to Pirates of the Caribbean further amplifies this narrative. Fans aren't just curious about whether he will reprise the role, they are intrigued by how he will reinterpret Jack Sparrow after years of personal and professional transformation. The prospect of a more nuanced, perhaps more introspective version of the character aligns with the broader arc of Depp's career reinvention. By allowing this narrative to unfold gradually, he keeps audiences invested, generating speculation, discussion, and engagement without ever having to make grand proclamations. It's a masterclass in sustaining attention, the kind of strategy that underpins successful high-retention content on platforms like YouTube. Even beyond the screen, Depp's presence commands attention. His selective media appearances, Fashion Week involvement, and carefully managed public image all contribute to a narrative of intentionality and control. Unlike the earlier years, when every aspect of his life was fodder for tabloid fodder, his current approach prioritizes mystery and intrigue. Fans are drawn not only to his past roles, but to the enigmatic figure he has become. This subtle recalibration transforms public interest from casual curiosity to deep engagement, creating a foundation for long-term success that doesn't rely solely on nostalgia or scandal. Ultimately, Johnny Depp's story is about more than comebacks and headlines. It's about the power of reinvention and the complexity of public perception. He isn't simply returning to Hollywood to reclaim lost fame. He's redefining how he wants to be seen, both as an artist and as a public figure. From iconic roles to independent projects, from legal controversies to carefully managed media appearances, every aspect of his journey reflects a conscious effort to reshape the narrative. This is a comeback built on strategy, artistry, and psychological insight, and it's unfolding in a way that ensures audiences remain captivated, curious, and engaged. As we watch this transformation, the question for the audience becomes clear. Which version of Johnny Depp will dominate the next chapter? The swaggering, irreverent pirate who stole hearts and screens? The contemplative artist exploring new creative avenues? The fashion-forward, mysterious public figure commanding attention without saying much? Or someone entirely new, a composite of all these elements, defying categorization and expectation? The beauty of his ongoing journey lies in its unpredictability, in the tension between what was, what is, and what might be. And that tension is what makes his story irresistible, ensuring that every project, every appearance, and every statement carries weight and keeps audiences engaged. In the end, Depp's story reminds us that comebacks are rarely linear and rarely simple. They are strategic, layered, and psychological. They require patience, creativity, and the ability to control one's narrative in the face of intense scrutiny. Johnny Depp is not just returning to the screen, he is recalibrating his image, redefining his craft, and reasserting control over the story of his life. The result is a narrative that is as compelling as any film he has ever starred in, one that blends drama, suspense, and artistry in ways that keep audiences captivated. For fans and observers, the takeaway is clear. Watch closely. The next moves will matter. The projects he chooses, the characters he embodies, and the way he engages with the world will shape not only his legacy, but also the ongoing conversation around celebrity, reinvention, and resilience. This is a story that will continue to unfold, one that invites curiosity, speculation, and engagement at every turn. Johnny Depp's journey is far from over, and the best is yet to come. So what do you think? Will he reclaim the role that made him a global icon, or will he continue to forge a path entirely on his own terms? Will we see the high seas again, the quirky indie characters, or the mysterious, reinvented star emerging from the shadows? The story is still being written, and the audience gets to watch it unfold in real time. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Because one thing is certain, Johnny Depp is back in a way that no one could have predicted, and this is a comeback story that will continue to hold our attention for years to come.